Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back and assalamu alaikum. Abdullah's Bait here from Break Your Face and a very special guest with us today, UFC fighter Bassil, the Habibi Hafez. Bassil, thank you for your time, brother. How's it going?
Assalamu alaikum. How are you guys?
Alaikum salam. Very good, very good. How you doing?
Good, good, really good, man. I'm excited to get back to training, finally working my way back into things post-surgery. So I'm just happy, grateful.
Yeah, and it's a pleasure having you join us today. You know, plenty of fans here excited for this interview, wanting to hear from you for a long time. A big announcement recently on your upcoming fight, but before we go there, let's take a look back a few months. A badass fight almost exactly 3 months ago. What a performance on just 4 or 5 days notice against a dangerous opponent. You know, very few people would have accepted to fight Jack Della Maddalena on such short notice, but you did. You put on an exceptional performance, gained a ton more fans after that fight. Unfortunately, not the W, though many would agree that you deserved it. You know, obviously you believe you won that fight and agree with a lot of the fans. What are your thoughts in general on the result?
Yeah, I mean, definitely not happy with the result, but I understand it. Just the way the game is, things can always go either way depending on how the judge looks at it or what judge shows up that day. I mean, look, I'm happy that I was able to make my debut and make my dreams come true. Definitely not happy with even though, look, I showed my heart and I showed my grit, but performance-wise, it wasn't the cleanest performance by me. It was the best I was able to do with the situations I was in with 3 days notice and cutting 30 pounds and, you know, hospitalizing myself with the weight cut. Like, it was definitely a rough road at that point, but there's a lot of things. There's a couple things I would change maybe in the fight that I would want to do, maybe more ground and pound in that point, different things like that. But look, the judges saw it the way they did. My goal was to go out going forward and make sure that the judges see it indefinitely in my way. You know, I don't want to leave any more doubt. So, yeah, that fight was what it was. But going forward now, I earned my way to have proper fight camps and proper preparation. And with the right fight camp and preparation, I don't see who could beat me in the division. You know, I'm excited to get back out there against a guy like Preston Parsons and you know, just show that I haven't proven anything yet. I feel like a lot of people saw the JDM fight and then like, oh, Basel, da, da, da. I'm like, man, I lost the fight. I see, I'm a realist. I look at it like I lost the fight, so it's an L in my it's a yeah, sorry, I lost the fight and it's an L in the loss column. At the end of the day, I didn't get my win bonus. Yeah, the performance bonus is great and that helps. It really does. But to me, it's a loss, man. And even though it's against JDM, I still think I could beat JDM. So I'm not like, oh, I made it in and I barely lost. Like I'm doing good. Like that's not my mindset at all. I'm not that kind of person. And so, you know, maybe some other guys would have took the fight. I know a lot of guys in the roster kind of didn't want to, but maybe some other guys would have took the fight that probably would have been happy just to get signed and then get knocked out by JDM. But you know, that's not my mindset. It's never my mindset, no matter who I'm going against. You know, I'm always of the mentality of no matter who I'm in the cage against, I'm the same level, if not better than them. And we're going in there to prove that. So like, yeah, I'm just excited to get back in there and rewrite that loss against JDM and into a spectacular performance and a performance bonus again with Preston Parsons. That's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, we're excited as well. Are there any regrets at all, you know, in these situations when you take a fight on short notice? Or do you feel it was all worth it considering getting fight of the night as well as the respect and publicity that came with it?
No, I mean, look, there's always going to be like, oh man, like I went out there, I didn't have the cleanest performance. I got a loss now as well. But man, I'm not in this sport to sit here and look pretty. Like some of these guys are picking their fights and trying to have. They might not want to take that fight because it's going to affect them or affect their record, and they don't want to look bad and this and that. And it's like, you know, this isn't a sport where you sit there and try and look pretty, man. You have to get in there and get gritty and get ugly and really show that you deserve to be there. So to me, like, man, I was so grateful the opportunity came. Like, there's not one bit of regret in taking that short. Like, yeah, I didn't feel great. I was like, I would say on the verge of almost death with the organ failure and things happening. Like, I was very close to reaching those points with my weight cut because of how bad it was and how drastic it was. But, you know, I don't take back anything because I'm healthy now. I'm fine. I'm never gonna have that bad of a weight cut going forward. You know, that was like the last straw, if you will, like the final one I ever have to have. And so I earned I basically gained what I wanted. So what I wanted was to go out there and fight my heart out and not get finished by JDM, but almost finish him and show that I'm a good fighter that deserved to be there. And then, you know, get a performance bonus and also earn my stock in the UFC. And I feel like I did all that in that fight. So yeah, loss sucks because I feel like that's the only reason the loss happened is because of the short notice, like not being able to clean up every single area with cardio, with strength, with timing, with game plan, with anything. People say that, oh, he took the fight on whatever short notice too, and he had 2 weight cuts in it. Man, he had 2 weight cuts because he obviously was doing the right thing, so it was easier for him to make this weight second time, or easy for him to make the weight second time. It wasn't a hassle. He didn't have problems. And in reality, he prepared for Sean Brady, which I ended up going in there and giving him a similar type of game plan that Sean Brady was going to implement. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think Sean was going to strike with him, especially after what happened with Bilal. I didn't see that happening. I think a lot of people didn't see that happening. So, like, for me, like, I went in there, and what's craziest for me is, like, I went in there on 3 days' notice. My game plan was 3 days' notice. I didn't wrestle really at all during sparring in the camps leading up to that, in the camp for Evan Cuts. I haven't been practicing any of that. I've just been working mainly on my striking. So that was me coming up with, going into my bread and butter, what I'm good at, even though it was sloppy on 3 days' notice, being able to come up with a game plan that I could almost beat JDM off my couch. So to me, like, there's no regrets. No. People can look at that fight and see that and say, like, that's Bassil, that's fine. And then you can think that and you can stay with that. And I'm gonna just keep improving every single fight and showing something different every single fight. And just continue to earn my stock. I'm never satisfied. I'm not satisfied with that loss and the performance bonus. I want to win and a performance bonus. I want to finish and a performance bonus. That's how I want it.
Yeah, and that's what we want to see. Now, Bassil, you touched on a couple of things here. You mentioned a weight cut. I watched an interview. You were talking about you got some air in your chest near your heart, somewhere where it shouldn't have been, basically during the weight cut. You also just touched a little bit on a surgery that you had. I'm guessing that was after the fight, though. Something, probably an injury sustained during the fight. Can you tell us a little bit about these health issues?
I had a motorcycle accident that I almost got really messed up in. I fractured my wrist in that pretty good, and I got hurt. And I also had some other injuries that I was out. It was like a month and a half before the JDM fight. I was preparing for short notice, hoping to get one, was in great shape, said yes to a couple guys. They said no, or whatever it was. Then it was like a short period was, okay, there's not many fights going on right now, no opportunities. Ironically, like, I was working a job and I ended up taking my motorcycle out to go to work that job one time. I'm heading back and I got cut off really bad on the road, and I lost control of the bike and ended up crashing. So I had some really bad injuries. I wasn't going to be able to fight. Then fast forward, I get myself healed up as best as I could to where I'm able to at least go to sparring without missing days. And I'm just doing what I can now. Finally starting to feel like myself again. Boom, the JDM opportunity happens. And so for me, I was saying yes. I wasn't going to say no regardless. So I didn't really have even really a good camp or a camp. It was more like getting healthy from the motorcycle accident. And then when I went into the fight, I refractured my wrist, like, pretty good at a different spot, I guess, from when it originally was hurt. And then I also tore my knee. But aside from that, the weight cut was so drastic that I think the weight cut is what caused the air in my chest, because the doctors, I don't think, had experienced or know what a weight cut, what fighters do for weight cuts, especially guys that have drastic weight cuts. It's like literally on the verge of death. So I don't think they had a lot of experience with that, so they didn't really know how to diagnose it. In my opinion, it's from the weight cut, because he hit me with a lot. Hit me with good body shots. He hit me with the kitchen sink. Hit me clean in the face. Hit me with a nice hook in the third round where I was tired, and he just timed it with a good dip and flipped me real good. It was nice, but I've been hit harder, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, my body didn't hurt me at all in the hospital. My face, I just wanted to make sure I didn't have a concussion, and they were like, "Yeah, you don't have a concussion. You're fine." I was like, "All right, yeah, I felt fine. Just felt like I was obviously bruised and stuff in the face." But the main thing was, they were like, that's why they kept me. So I went in after the fight, like, I'm thinking, oh, I'm just go in, make sure I have no concussion, and then I'm gonna go back out and party with my friends and have a good time and my coaches. And then I go in there and they do the CAT scan, and they're like, "Yeah, you're fine, no concussion, but you have like oxygen and air throughout your esophagus area and around your heart and around your lungs." I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, so you can't leave." I'm like, "What do you mean I can't leave?" They're like, "No, you can't leave. You have to stay. We have a specialist, but he can't be here till tomorrow." And I'm like, "Oh, this is crazy." And they're like, "Yeah, and you got to go on a liquid diet because we got to put you." So I didn't get to eat. I went from weight cut, and still, I mean, after weight cut, you don't get to really eat the shit and the things that you want to eat. So I went weight cut, rehydration, fight, and then right after the fight, didn't even eat anything, went straight to the hospital, and then right on liquid diet. So not the greatest post-fight. time.
That's
Yeah. But
insane.
so then I
That's
was in the
insane.
hospital. They do some tests. They tell me, they're trying to, like, I kind of like already in my head, I know, like I've been in the hospital a lot. I'm not a doctor. I've been in and out of the hospital, like ICUs, like, like not life support, but like close to these situations where it's very serious injuries. And I've been out of the hospital so many times. So I kind of like knew that it wasn't a hole in my esophagus. They were saying that they could have been a hole in my esophagus, and that's how the oxygen got in. I knew there really wasn't. I really think it was from the weight cut, and I don't know how it happens from the weight cut. I still don't have it. Like, if there's any medical professionals in the Middle East that listen to this podcast and know what it is, please tell me. But they couldn't figure it out, and so they went and did some tests. It was like I drank some disgusting stuff, and they would do X-rays while it's going down my esophagus. This stuff was like making me want to throw up. I had to drink like a gallon of it, almost like 2 quarts or some crazy amount, and it was like disgusting. I kept drinking and kept doing X-rays. No cut in my esophagus, so I was good. Doctor basically came in at the end and said, we don't know what it is. It seems like it's from the fight, but this and that. And that's when me and him had the little, like, I don't think it's from the fight because of this and that. I felt this from the weight cut. If what you're saying is related to how I feel, then it's not from the fight. We had a whole disagreement. He didn't really have an answer, so I just left it at that. So yeah, I don't really know what caused the oxygen to build up. I think obviously, I personally think it's from the weight cut because it's related to like the feelings I was feeling. And other fighters may have experienced this too. Somebody else might comment and be like, yo, I know exactly what he's talking about. So it was like sore throat. It would like it would affect the way my voice sounded, where I sounded more nasally almost. And I had pain in my chest and pain when I would take deep breaths. My lungs would feel like they're swollen, like bruised. So it was like a feeling. It was like a mixture of all those feelings. But it just went away. It went away as I healed and everything. Like after the fight, I just recovered and took my time. Everything went back to normal. And then the surgery was for my left knee, and then I had to have a cast on my left wrist. And so it was just a build up of a lot of things that kind of put me out as like, okay, now you have to be out.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And all better now. Back to 100%.
Yeah, back to 100%. Sorry, it was a long explanation, but that was the full
No, that's,
detail of everything I dealt with
yeah, yeah.
going into the JDM fight, post JDM fight. I'm finally healthy.
Good, good. Alhamdulillah,
Yeah.
Basil. We're glad to hear it. Basil, you've got an inspirational story, which I'm sure plenty of people would appreciate. It wasn't easy for you growing up, a few run-ins with the law when you were younger, losing both your parents at a young age due to cancer. Allah yarhamhum, God rest their soul. Would you mind telling us, please, a little bit about growing up? Was there a reason behind the trouble you were getting into, and how did you eventually get to where you are today?
Yeah, man. Alhamdulillah, it definitely is. They're always on my mind. They're always something I think about with everything I do, with how hard I fight with the breast cancer donations and things I do with that, with charities. Like, they're always on my mind. And yeah, I mean, it definitely it was tough, man. It was tough when it happened growing up. I think what led to me fighting obviously was like a side effect of. So what led to me fighting was a side effect of like when I lost my mom at first. It was a time where I was going through a lot of trouble, was getting a lot of trouble fighting with people on the street constantly, partying and doing things that I shouldn't be doing. I just made a lot of bad mistakes, and I'll give you the full backstory. So she had breast cancer, but both my parents had cancer, and then both had beat it. My mom had breast cancer, had a single mastectomy and then a double mastectomy, and she was in remission for almost 2 years, and then it came back as breast cancer, even though she had a double mastectomy. And then it spread from breast cancer to bone marrow, to liver, to brain. It was throughout her whole body at one point. And at one point, she was stage 4 for 4 years. She was like the toughest person that I ever knew. Like, she would go chemotherapy and radiation in the morning at 8 a.m. and then go work a 12 or 10 and 12-hour shift at the pizza shop with my father. I grew up in the pizza business. The immigrant thing, the Middle East immigrant thing, come over with a degree of some kind and open a food restaurant. It's like every Arab comes to America and does that. So I grew up in pizza business, and they would always work pizza shop days every single day, 12-hour shifts. Like, it's long hours. You have to be there. And they didn't trust a lot of people to run it. So, I mean, she would go and she'd be on stage 4, terminal, and she'd be going to chemotherapy, radiation, working full days afterwards. And she did it for a long time. And I think what led to a lot of me not seeing my parents a lot, and also having a great understanding of what was going on. Because my brother like young growing up. My brother's 2 years older, and so he was like the older son of the family, and like they would tell him like, okay, what's going on. I wouldn't really know until I became like 17, 18 is when I really started to find out what was like, the severity of her sickness and how bad it was. Um, I know it's kind of, people would say that's kind of like, late, but like, yeah, they kept a lot from me. Like, I was the young one in the house. I was the young one. I was getting in trouble a lot. I didn't really know. I know like obviously what they were going through, but didn't know severity of things like a lot when I was like younger, like freshman high school, sophomore in high school, like 14, 15. Um, so, I started getting in more trouble. I was always getting in trouble, getting in more and more trouble, getting in more and more street fights. And then when my mom had passed in July of 2010, it was like that. Around that time frame, I got in two really bad fights where like the kid was hospitalized. The last one, I got in trouble because there was police there. I got arrested. And then at that point, it was like, all right, I need to stop. It was like I need to grow up and stop doing this. Like, what would my mom think? Like, this is embarrassing her to be this kind of kid, to get in street fights and being irresponsible and not taking care of my health and not trying to go to college. So I was like, kind of had like a huge epiphany at one point, when I was with my father. We were riding back from like the courthouse, and I had the epiphany. And I'm like, he's dealing with everything he's dealing with. Like, he just lost his wife, my mother, and like now he's got to deal with me, almost maybe going to jail for a fight. And it's like, and he also has to run the pizza shop, and it's like he's got all this on his shoulders. And it's like I think a lot, I didn't grow up until that point, and that's when I really realized like I need to stop being a little kid, a stupid kid. I need to be a man. And so I kind of like tried to correct, fix things up, make my life something proper. Like I wanted to actually go to college or figure out something that I could be successful in. So at the point, I was like, should I go to college? Should I do other things? I don't know what to do. My cousins were blue belts at the time. Rami and Moya, they were blue belts in Balance Studios in Philadelphia. And they were telling me like you should come in and train, man. You should try being a fighter. Like you can knock people out in the street. Just come try it. Like I'm like, nah, man. That's like I'm thinking in my head like these guys grow up doing that. Like I can't just jump in and be a fighter. Like I didn't know what to do really. I was kind of really down in the situation, and they continued to push for me to try it out. And then eventually, I just stepped in the gym one day with them, and they're blue belts. They brought me in to meet Ricardo Miglioris on an open mat training one time, and then it's been history since then. I never fell in love and never turned back. And now I'm a first degree black belt. Fast forward, yeah, I mean, but so not to, back rewind a little bit. So at the time I started training, my father had then gotten lung cancer. The second time that he had gotten lung cancer. He was the kind of guy where my father was hard headed and so much like me in ways where like no matter what, he's gonna do what he wants to do, even if it's like okay, he knows it's bad for his health or he knows like this is not the best way. It doesn't matter. It's like when our mind was set on something, he would do it. Like I'm the same way. I feel like that with with things, and so like he just wanted to smoke cigarettes. He just liked smoking. He smoked. He beat lung cancer, and in the hospital bed, when the doctor comes in, tells him you're good, everything went good, walks out, and he's lighting a cigarette in the hospital bed. So he was hard headed in his own way. And my mom had passed, and I started fighting. Me and him started to hit it off more, and then it was like really short after that, he told me that he got diagnosed with lung cancer again. And it was different that time. We had really built a relationship, and one thing I will say is he got to come see me fight before he got really sick and had to get hospitalized. And I got to see him smile from seeing me like dominate. Like I got to go in the cage and I beat the crap out of this guy, and like he saw like how everyone cheered, and like it was an amateur fight. It was way back. It was like when I was amateur fighting at Harris Casino in Chester, Pennsylvania. And I remember he came out, and he came with like his friend, and I got them to come out. And he was so anti-violence. My parents were so anti-violence growing up. Like most Middle Eastern parents don't like fighting, and so he was really against it. But when he came out, he saw how everyone cheered for me, he saw how everyone loved me, and like how I won and everything, and he was really like, happy for me, truly happy for me. And so that's like it was a good feeling, man, to get to see, for him to see, like to know that I really believe my mom, I don't know if she'd be happy with me being a professional fighter. My dad, like knowing how like knowing that I am happy and that I'm successful at it, I know that he would be happy. I hope my mom would be happy. But yeah, so I mean, it just leads to where I'm at now, man. Fast forward I'm in the UFC 13 years later, and first degree Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt as well. And one thing I'm doing coming up soon I want to mention is it's hard for people because they know a lot of fan base in the Middle East, but if they want to support, we can figure out a way. But what I'm doing is, and I've done it before, is I do like breast cancer events where I sell things and different items and whatever I can to raise money to donate directly to families going through breast cancer. And we're doing my first in-person event here in Denver, Colorado, November 4th. And it's going to be at Barwis Performance Center, and we're doing games, raffles, prizes, and we're gonna, try and raise a bunch of money and donate directly to families going through breast cancer. Similar to like kind of how we were growing up and knowing how my mom had to work full time and not get a chance to rest when she was sick, like not no one was like, I mean, not that expected, but no one would go out and donate and help and try and say, okay, like let me help take some of the load off your plate and like help you relax when you're sick and when you're at the end of your life. It's like I think that's something that you could help the most with people that are going through cancer is like there's so much money in the research, but it's like there's no money in people's lives. People are struggling and stressing every single day just to be able to put food on the plate, let alone live. And so to me, it's like the best way I can give back is to donate directly to families that need the money to help pay their bills, to help stress in their lives. Like that's to me the best way I can help out with it instead of going directly to like a Susan G. Komen or a big foundation.
Bassil, that's a beautiful thing that you're doing. God bless you, brother. I'm sure both your parents would be very proud. It's been a successful journey for you so far. After only 12 professional fights, becoming the Fury FC welterweight champion, a beautiful third round knockout back in February. Now you're in the UFC. I'm sure many more goals ahead, but you've accomplished at least a couple of your dreams. What's been more meaningful to you, winning the Fury FC belt, joining the UFC, or maybe something else completely?
Oh man, I would say probably the most meaningful moment. Actually, it's going to be not the Fury. It's when I won the CFFC belt because that
Okay.
was like so I won. So I actually won three pro belts. I won Maverick MMA, which is a smaller scale local promotion. Won Maverick MMA belt. I won CFFC welterweight championship, and then I won the Fury FC championship.
Mm.
I would say though the local out of all the local titles, it has to be the CFFC because
Okay.
the Fury FC was great. It was more like a gratification of man. I don't know. Actually, it's tough question. Now I'm like, nah, I don't know, man, because the Fury one put me back on the map. So each one has their own like it's like a specific chapter in my life, right? The first pro belt I won at Maverick was like a good feeling because I never really won a pro belt, and I feel like I deserved it. When I won the CFC belt, it was like a time where I had came back from I had a car accident followed by knee surgery for I was out for like a year and a half, and I'm being told by everyone I'm never going to fight again. I should just get a different job. I actually had to work a career job and like step away from fighting for a little bit
Okay.
just to not obviously go homeless. And so it was like a very tumultuous time that led to like, me winning the CFFC belt by first round triangle when I did. And I beat a guy who was undefeated Canadian. So that to me is like number one, number one.
Yeah.
Number two would probably be getting signed to the UFC because my dream, right?
Yeah.
Coming
Yeah.
true. Even though I feel like, look, I feel like I was gonna get here eventually. There are points in a fighter's career where we think like, man, I'm not gonna make it. Like you just think that it goes to your mind because like it hasn't happened yet. Especially for someone that you feel like is deserving. You've had a bunch of fights and it's just like it just hasn't happened yet. There's always that feeling of like, man, am I gonna make it? Am I gonna do it? Like, is this gonna actually happen? Like, is my dream gonna come true, or am I gonna just be a guy who always almost made it? And so that right there is it's a tough thing, man. Maybe I would say then the UFC getting signed to the UFC and the winning the CFC belt was they're tied up there. Winning that Fury belt was very important to me because it was beating a guy by knockout, which I've never had a knockout in my whole pro career, and being a guy by knockout that I lost the first time to by not fighting smart and losing my opportunity then to get signed to the UFC straight up. So it was kind of like it's kind of like it has its own weight to it
Yeah.
when I won the Fury belt, especially with who I
Yeah.
beat. But yeah, getting signed to the UFC and winning that CFC belt definitely
No.
high up there for me. Just because the
Nice. Nice.
moments, man, I'm thinking like being
Yeah.
overcome with
Yeah.
emotion and like actually crying, like or actually being like like damn, like in shock. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I knocked Cuts out for the for the Fury belt, it was kind of like I really believed I was going to do it, man. Like I really didn't have any doubt in my mind that I could knock him out and that I could do it in the fashion I did. And so when it happened, it just happened. You know, it was kind of like it was a great feeling, but it was like, yeah, I knew I could fucking do that.
Amazing. Inshallah, much more success to come. You've got a four
So,
fight deal with the UFC. The one back in July was just the first one. Your next fight is
yeah,
going to be against Preston Parsons, nicknamed Pressure. So he's going to be bringing it. A record
yeah.
of 10 wins and 4 losses. 9 of those wins coming by way of submission. The ground game is obviously there. How and where will you be preparing for the fight, and where do you believe you have the advantage?
Oh man, I feel like I have the advantage everywhere. Honestly, I don't feel like his wrestling is that good. I've watched like he's good at timing takedowns and finding holes in like getting your hands up to go shoot under, which is it's a good game plan. But like I don't know, it's very simple. It's something I grew up doing too. So I don't, and I see his wrestling. His pressure is the main thing I would say. He does come forward constantly. He has good cardio for that, and he does come forward nonstop. My goal is to make him regret coming forward on me. So I'm not gonna talk too much into my game plan, but I do believe I'm better than him everywhere. I believe that if it goes to the ground, I can submit him. I believe if we go in the wrestling department, that I'm gonna out wrestle him, and I feel like if it goes in the feet, I'm gonna knock him out. So that's my goal is to get a finish, and wherever it happens, it's gonna be a finish.
Beautiful, and half of your wins have also come by submission. So I think this time we might see some groundwork. Now that's going down on the 13th of January. Definitely a fight we're looking forward to. We've also got UFC 294 coming up on the 21st of October. A couple of big changes made to that card just over the past couple of days. What are your thoughts on the new fights?
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I mean, they didn't go down in popularity. Like they went from like two great matchups to like okay, it's still even better, honestly, because it's
Yeah,
like you got guys that are badass that are willing to come up and like and just take that short notice. Like I don't care, like that's what the sport needs, man. Like, look, I did it, and the people got to see a show. They got to see JDM fight, and now Usman does it, and people get to see him versus Kamza. I think look, it's short notice. This is the thing that people don't understand. They think like short notice, like it doesn't mean as much. But in reality, like short notice is a big part of like not having a game plan, not having this. If a guy goes out and performs, that's great. But in reality, it's not. It's always against you. It's always against you when you're short notice because you're going against the guy who's had all the preparation, all the camp, everything diet, everything right, cardio everything is where it needs to be because they've known about this date. When a short notice guy comes in, they didn't know about this date. That's what makes the spontaneity of it. Like spontaneous things are fun, right? But in reality, we can't shit ourselves here. Kumaro has not. He's been training, right? But he hasn't been in fight camp for Khamzat Chimaev, right? So at the end of the day, like we don't know what's gonna happen. I think personally, Kumaro has every tool that he needs to beat Khamzat. I think he definitely can beat him. So it really all depends on how these short notice affects him. So, but if you look at them as fighters, I think Khamzat's a better wrestler. I think Khamzat's a better striker, more technical. His defense is better. The jiu-jitsu game is where I think Khamzat can be able to like take advantage and be able to do a little more, maybe because of look, he's Sambo and Kamaro's American wrestling. That's really it. Other than that, Kamaro's ground game is very good. His jiu-jitsu's defense is very good as well. So like I don't know, it's just in my opinion, it's like it's really like up in the air because I think Kamaru has what it takes to beat him normally. And now it's short notice. So it's really, I think, a 50-50. You never know.
yeah, yeah.
One guy's in
And
fight camp, the other guy's coming with short notice. And then, yeah, the main event, I mean,
yeah,
Islam and
what are your thoughts? What are your
excited for that.
predictions on that? Yeah,
I thought Islam lost the first one, man. I really thought he lost the first one.
interesting, interesting.
Yeah, I
Okay.
did. I think, look, I'm not a believer, and even people may go, wait, what? I'm not a believer in just takedown, control, wins fight. Not a believer in that. Even though I get it, that was my game plan with JDM. That was more taking advantage of the system. In reality, I don't like to fight that way. I don't like to just go. I used to. If you look at my earlier in my career, and you look at, I'd say after the Cuts fight on, different fighter I am. Cuts fight before, I would constantly have moments where I just want to go and lay and pray and take down guys and lay on top of them. After Cuts fight, I do what is needed to win the fight, whether it's knockout, clinch, submission attempts. Like and I'm getting smarter in that. So I feel like I've had an evolution as a fighter, and so to me, I don't think lay and pray is the best way. I get I did it against JDM. Um, in my opinion, Islam is not a lay and pray guy, but in that fight, he tried to just stay on top of Volkanovski, and that's how he thought he was going to win the fight. And in my opinion, like he was technically winning the fight, but then Islam, I thought lost it with the later rounds and lost it with the things that he was giving up, like giving up transitions. He was kind of holding him and not doing a lot of ground pound in the positions that he was. And then on top of that, Volkanovski was able to return and get him in bad positions. So it's like, I don't think so. If it was like just dominating ground versus striking, one means more than the other usually, right? Or they're pretty close. No, in my opinion, like it definitely is. It was a lot closer, but I still think Volkanovski. If you look at it based off of just fight, I think Volkanovski edged it, but they didn't give it to him. It happens. Like there's times where guys think this person won the fight, that guy won the fight. There's times that this person really did win the fight and they didn't get it. It's just good judges, man. The system we live in. So at the end of the day, look, he lost the fight. I thought Volkanovski did enough to win the fight. This time, he's not on a full camp. And a guy like Islam, you kind of need that full camp, I feel like, because he's such a grind you out style. And that's why I think Volkanovski was able to nullify him in the first fight because like he was in just as good a shape. And usually Islam fights guys where he's able to eventually break them. So I don't know. That one I think is gonna end up going to Islam in the rematch.
Yeah.
Just off of because of how it's set up now.
Yeah.
If it was like full fight camps, start back over again, Volkanovski, I pick him every time. But because of the way it is, yeah, I'm gonna go with Islam.
Okay. And more importantly than that event, will you be doing a watch along on millions.co? Can you tell us a little bit about that platform and your work on it?
I will be. Yeah, millions.co, man. It's great, man. It's an awesome platform I joined to do like live streams and be able to interact with fans and do like, something make it more personable that a lot of people don't do. A lot of people don't get to have. A lot of athletes don't really interact with fans as much, maybe just do slight comments. And the millions.co thing is great because it's a stream like this is. And I'm just basically responding to everyone and answering questions and just having a good time, giving live reaction to fights on my personal opinion based on what's happening. So especially if someone's watching it, if you're on the millions.co and you're watching the fights at the same time as me and we're on here, that's like the best experience because you can see in real time what my opinion is and what I'm thinking of things that are happening. Like in the the Holloway fight. I mean, I called like a millisecond before it happened. I called he was about to get knocked out, and he got knocked out. And if you're watching it live, you got to see the experience, the awesomeness of that. So, yeah, it's one of those things, man. Like, it's very rare you get to be watching the sport that the same athlete plays in or does, and get their opinion and communicate with them. So, hop on my live stream, millions.co. It's going to be this Saturday for the Yusuf and Barbosa fight, and then next weekend as well for the Abu Dhabi fights for Makhachev versus Volkanovski 2 and Usman versus Chimaev. Make sure you join us for that for sure. I gotta bring you on too, because I can also bring you on as like as a coach streamer. Yeah, seriously.
Amazing. So I actually experienced your watch along. I think it was it was the Holloway fight. It was awesome, man. I got to be honest with you. Again, hearing the fighter talk about it, interacting, giving my opinion, and then you talk back and tell me, hey, no, this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen. It was definitely a wonderful experience. So highly recommended.
What do you say, man? We got the Abu Dhabi fights next weekend.
Okay.
What do you have going on? You have a nice setup. So what do you say you join us? What do you say you join in?
Yeah, we probably could. We probably could. We'll do that. Why not? For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so
thank you so much.
how it works is I just got to tell them that I want to bring somebody on. You have a good setup, so just basically come on for the pre-stream to make sure everything is good, and then I would just bring you on at some point in the stream. We could do the main event. We'll bring you on for the main event. We'll talk about it together. I'll have my jiu-jitsu coach, me and Steve, and then it'll be you. So all three of us will talk, and you can bring your fan base. They can ask questions and stuff too, and make it a fun time.
Yeah, I'd love that. That. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bassil, awesome. On the subject of the Abu Dhabi fights, they're happening once a year. Now there's a UFC fight night in Saudi Arabia that was just announced for March. Is there any chance we'll be seeing you on a fight card? Yeah, will we be seeing you on a fight card in the Middle East in the future? Is that something you'd like to do?
Man, I would love to. I really do. For me, the biggest thing for me right now is that I just don't care where I fight. Like, I want to fight if the timing's right and I'm in camp and it's the right, like, whatever the date lines up, that's how I'm treating it. overall, I would love to be in the Middle East first. I would love to be fighting in Saudi Arabia. I'd love to be fighting in Dubai. I'd love to be fighting in Qatar. I'd love to be fighting in Kuwait maybe one day. Egypt would be great. We got to do an event in Cairo. I'm trying to get that to happen. So, yeah, I mean, I would love to be fighting in the Middle East, bro. I'm Middle Eastern. So to me, that's the goal. But, you know, as a fighter, you can't always base it off just that. You know, it's like when's the fight? When is the opponent available? What dates are available? You know, we need to make money. I need to get paid, so I got to fight again at this date. Like, and also traveling is not the easiest because traveling overseas for the flights is a big process, right? And so if it's not done right, it can mess up your weight cut. Can you know, give you a crappy week, whole shitty fight week. So for me, I want to make sure that I'm at the right point in my life to do it. And also the right matchup. I want to get paid the right way too. So that's the goal. I do want to be in the Middle East, and I want to fight in the Middle East a lot. And I want to, you know, do that. I want to bring out the fans and try and get more people involved in MMA in Middle Eastern countries, because it's not really, there's a big fan base, but it's still very not saturated, I would say, as it could be. So I want to blow that up and build that. So it's just going to take time. It takes time. Like I think, you know, maybe a year from now, it'll be a lot easier for me to be scheduled for these Middle Eastern cards and be able to go out there and on a regular basis make that a thing. So, but as for now, I just have to go with like whoever the matchup I get offered and where it's at. And it's like, so this one coming up is in Vegas, but inshallah in the future, I'll be fighting in the Middle East. That Saudi card might be good. I don't know. Yeah. It really depends on what happens between January and March. If I go into January fight and I come out with no injuries, and obviously March is around the corner, 100% I would love to fight in Saudi. I would love it. It'd be a great time. Yeah. You know, I would not hesitate at all to say yes. But like same thing, I got excited and I started speaking ahead about fighting this year and fighting again, and then I had the injuries, and now it's like, oh, I said I was fighting in the fall or late fall or in like close to the winter in 2023, and now it turns out I'm not able to do that. So for me, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna take this fight. I'm gonna treat it like it's, you know, my mindset. If I end up in the hospital afterwards, I'm getting a bonus. That means that it's a good fight, right? So, but hopefully, inshallah, I can go in there. I can have a great performance, and I don't end up in the hospital. I end up healthy afterwards, and then, you know, I can turn right back around and fight. And Saudi would be amazing. So yeah, we'll see. I don't like to talk too much ahead of it, make it like happen. It doesn't happen, then it's like, oh, this dude talk too much.
No. We, you know, Bassil, we definitely hope to welcome you back here one day and hopefully meet you in person, inshallah. Until then, brother, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure. We're looking forward to your next fight, January 13, Bassil Hafez versus Preston Parsons. Stay tuned to Break Your Face for the latest on that, and make sure to follow Bassil on his social media accounts as well. Thank you again, sir, and all the best to you.
Make sure you guys follow me, guys. Seriously, keep up with my account. Keep up with all the breast cancer shirts I'm selling. I'm selling these shirts. They're on millions.co. I have this. Let me grab the other shirt too, so I can show you guys.
Let's see it.
So I have this shirt. I have more merch coming out, but the Habibi simple with the red line. I got Habibi Miami Vice style, right? 100% of the profits of my profits are being donated to breast cancer. I want to thank all my sponsors real quick. Dependable Solutions, More Homes Colorado, Sheath Underwear, best underwear in the game, Basel 20 for 20% off, Technicare Mechanical, Delco Steaks, My Fit Foods, Yakitori Boy, Huda PHL, JB Health Associates, PA Pain and Rehab, Blade and Badger Barbershop, and Place of Peace, BJJ. Thank you guys for making this possible. But yeah, buy these shirts. 100% of them are going towards breast cancer donations. I'm not taking a single dime from it. Support a good cause. If you like a certain design, let's talk. Let's put something up there that people are going to want to wear and buy. But right now we have this design, we have this design, and then we got one more design coming out. It's the old Pharaoh design that I originally created. It should be on there already. I'll double check if it's not. But yeah, buy the shirts, man. They're comfortable and support a good cause. And thank you, Break Your Face, for having me on. And I'll see you on my million stream.
Hell yeah. And right here, since you brought up the t-shirts, you know, I'm going to commit to buying at least a few of those. We'll do a giveaway in the future on our account. We'll make sure to tag you and mention you. Ship it to anywhere in the world to any of the winners, just to show some support, Bassil. Thanks again.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. That's why you got to follow Break Your Face podcast, man. This guy's doing good stuff out here. Okay, make sure you follow this, guys. Habibi, let's go. Let's do it. Let's go.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much. We'll talk soon, Bassil.